Hello, this is Constance from Mrs. T Weddings, and today I am going to be continuing the Lockdown Live series, and I am going to be joined by a real bride. So Cassie is, join me immediately. Very prompt. I'm very impressed by this. She gets an A star. So she has recently got married during the whole pandemic, and we're going to hear about her journey from having a supersized wedding to what it really was. So hello, welcome.
Hello.
Are you are you
Trying
with
to
us?
yeah. God, I hate lives. These are the technical difficulties.
Always. It's just sort of like whatever could go wrong will go wrong. But the good thing is that nobody really minds because we're all used to it.
Exactly. I might try and rejoin because I've lost
Sure.
you now, so I can't see you.
Okay.
So
Sure,
give
no
me
worries.
2 seconds.
Of course, no problem. So as I was saying, Cassie is an Oxford girl. She has the Instagram account Maid in Oxford. She's an influencer, runs a couple of pubs. We're going to hear a little bit about her background. But as part of that, she was due to get married last year. I think it was going to be 120 people. And then clearly with the pandemic, that wasn't possible. So with her now husband, Johnnie, they re-planned everything and decided what they were going to do. So I'm now going to bring in, hopefully technology is on our side this time. We will see. Connecting. How are we doing?
Hello. I'm
Yes.
here. I'm here. You're here. It's happening.
We made it happen. Well done. So I was just telling everyone a little bit of background, but basically that, you were meant to have this big fabulous wedding last year and the pandemic hit and it all changed basically.
Yeah, basically that. It's quite crazy actually to think, obviously you know more than anyone how much weddings have changed obviously
Yeah.
since the pandemic. I mean, when we think about what we started wanting, and it's that fairy tale wedding that every little girl wants when
Yeah,
she's
so take
younger.
us through what the original wedding was
Yeah.
going to be. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was going to be in Oxford,
Yeah.
obviously where we're both living at the minute, and it was going to be, like you said, 120 people, and so obviously it was going to be quite traditional, but
Yeah.
I'm from Ireland. I have
Okay.
my Irish heritage, and there's quite a lot of pressure when you're putting on an Irish wedding as well. So I was going to be bringing an Irish wedding element to Oxford. So there was going to be lots of live music, lots of fun,
Wow.
lots of jokes, lots of
Oh,
drinking, lots of
brilliant.
dancing.
Yeah.
It was just that's
A
the
real
setup it was going to
celebration of love.
be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we were going for,
Yeah.
and it seemed perfectly reasonable when we first started planning it, which was I think about 2 or 3 years ago now when
Wow.
we got engaged. So
Yeah.
yeah, very reasonable request, but
Yeah.
apparently
Apparently
not.
not so reasonable anymore.
Yeah,
Totally
yeah.
extreme now. So what kind of venue did you have to start with? Was it a barn? Was it a city one? Where were you going to do
It
it?
was it was a local manor house,
Okay.
that was a beautiful setting, very very
Yeah.
fairy tale like,
Brilliant.
and a lot of space for a lot of dancing, which is always what
The
we wanted.
priority.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And just a beautiful setting, place that we thought would be very very happy there.
Yeah.
And
So
yes,
what month
we
was that meant to be in? What was your original wedding date?
originally July 4th was our
Okay.
original date.
Okay. Strong date. My husband's almost
Yeah,
birthday.
yeah,
Well,
Independence Day,
yeah,
ironically.
exactly. It's a big day. It's a big day for lots of reasons.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, funnily enough, although we obviously postponed, it
Yeah.
ended up being the day that pubs could reopen.
Oh,
So we actually ended up reopening the Port Mahon on that day, on our should be wedding day. So
of
I
course.
wore a veil that I got for my hen do, my Zoom hen do. But I was prancing around all day in white,
I
serving
love
pints
that.
with a veil on to kind of as a nod to the day.
Amazing.
But we
That's
still
brilliant.
had friends around. We still had a few drinks and stuff. So
Yeah.
it was a nice way
Oh,
to
that's
kind
good.
of
You could actually
celebrate the day.
celebrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, do you want to give a little bit of background about what you do and who you
Yes.
are? Because I
Yes.
think that'll then tie into that last bit a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. I'm Cassie, also known as Maid in Oxford, and I've been really my main thing is that I've been blogging for the last 2 years, and I've been doing some work around supporting independent businesses.
Yeah.
And that kind of passion comes from running 2 pubs with my husband, which are obviously independent businesses themselves. So
Yeah.
we know pretty much every pain point there is to know in terms of running a small business. And
Absolutely.
so I know marketing, especially digital marketing, social media, is something that a lot of businesses struggle with.
Yeah.
And so tying in with my kind of content creation background, I've now started my own business around social media strategy for specifically small businesses. So
Fabulous.
yeah, a bit of a juggle.
Yeah.
And Johnny's
While
the
running
same.
2 pubs during a pandemic and
Yes.
replanning a wedding. Incredible. You're a powerhouse.
So yeah, we don't do things by half. Johnny's quite the same. He's got quite a number of different things going, and then we just like doing lots of different things. So
I love that. Well, that's good. It keeps the energy, keeps the blood flowing. Everything feels kind of like it's raring to go the whole time. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so you were in one of your pubs when it opened, when you're prancing around as the meant to be bride. And then tell us a little bit about what happened. So it was meant to be the 4th. But what point did you decide? Because I think one of the things, especially at the moment, right? So many people postponed to 21 because 20 wasn't possible, because they did still want that bigger wedding. And now all my 21 couples are going, do I postpone to 22? Do I go to 23? What do I do? At what point did you decide, right, we're going to downsize, we're going to change the agenda?
Yeah. So for us, what was really important was that we did make the decision quite early on, because, you know, as I mentioned, we've got quite a lot of different things going on that were all affected by COVID in different ways. Whereas, you know, we were always going to get married. It was just a matter of when. So we wanted to make the decision really early to kind of remove a layer of anxiety that we were going through as a couple.
I think that anxiety is real, and like for any couples out there, like, do not be worried that you are freaking out. It is normal to feel super
you're not
stressed.
Being a diva for you know, hours and hours and hours of planning goes into a wedding. And you know, it does looking back now, it has made me feel quite different about big weddings and you know what really matters at the end of the day. But I think for us, it was about making that decision quite early on. And so I think we decided in March, I think when the first proper lockdown hit, we started looking at our options, and we originally postponed to September. Thinking, it would be fine by then. And so I think July came along, and obviously we were thinking about the pubs, and the pubs were reopening, and then it was also looking like things were obviously going to be going on for longer. And September was not looking likely, especially when they put down, I think they started putting in restrictions of you can have weddings, but it can only be about 30 people. Now, as I said, I come from an Irish family, and we have big families.
That doesn't touch the surface.
No, not as in like, you know, as in we've got big close families. So if you didn't invite one person, you know, you're excommunicated from the rest of the clan. Like, so having a 30-person wedding was, at the time, was just not something that I could even imagine doing. Especially with the venue that we had, because 30 people in that venue
would get lost.
Absolutely, it just wasn't right at all. But then at the same time, we really wanted to get married.
And you've been waiting. So you had a long engagement, you know. If it's
very long engagement.
3 weeks, 3 years now. You know, that is a fairly long engagement.
Very long engagement, and it all kicked off when in this time where things were letting down a little bit in terms of lockdown. You know, we had a bit more freedom of movement. I did take a trip to Ireland, where my family and my parents still are, and I had a long weekend with my mum and dad, and my mum and I were actually doing a clothes swap. We do that every time that I'm home, which is really
great
convenient.
Idea.
But we were doing a clothes swap, and in her wardrobe she has this white dress that she's had for about 10 or so years. Like I remember it from when I was little. And she said, just try it on for a joke. And I tried on this white dress, and it was just stunning. It was absolutely stunning, and it fit me like a glove. And it was
meant to be.
It was one of those moments where then mum turned around to me, she's like, well, you've got the dress, Cass, let's just do it. And so the next day, bearing in mind Johnny's not with me.
So he was still in Oxford?
He was still in
Oh my
Oxford, and
goodness.
the next day I go into the registrar
Yeah.
in Derry, and I say, "Oh, what's the soonest date that you have for a wedding?" And they said, "Oh, in 3 weeks' time." And so then I just gave Johnny a quick call afterwards to say, "How do you fancy getting married in 3 weeks?"
Wow.
And that's how it's happened. And because, you
Incredible.
know, Derry's quite a small city, but it has some fantastic creatives in it.
Yeah.
Natalie, who did our photography, was incredible.
Beautiful photos.
Yeah, and
So
it was it
stunning.
was it was really easy to put together. And
And
I'm
not
sorry, I
many
shouldn't be
wedding
saying this
suppliers had a
because you're
lot
a
going on.
planner. Yeah, I think we got married on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it was in this little hotel. Well, it's not this, it was a beautiful hotel in Derry called the Bishopsgate. I'll leave all the comments of
Yeah,
everything that
do.
I used. And they had this beautiful room. It was almost like a library, and
Oh.
we just thought, okay, let's just do it. So it was us, it was my parents, his parents, my granny was my bridesmaid,
Oh,
and his brother.
oh my
And
goodness, so much love.
yeah, and yeah, we had
Incredible.
a very short ceremony,
Yeah.
pulled everything together, and then we just had a really long lunch, very
Yeah.
boozy long lunch.
Yeah. It's got to be the
And
best dinner
that was
party of your life, basically, hasn't
yeah,
it?
no,
That's
it
the way to
was,
view
it
it.
was. And you know, the way that we were feeling, it wouldn't have made a difference if 10 people were there or 100 people were there.
Yeah.
It was really, really special that way.
Yeah, that's really brilliant. Oh, I love that. And the granny bridesmaid's getting a lot of love down there. So fabulous decision. Well done.
Yeah.
And so everyone managed to get over really quickly.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
got
And we were
rearranged.
really lucky because this was the really small window before
It
things
then
started
went big.
getting clamped down again. I
Yeah.
think actually, funnily enough, Northern Ireland went into a full lockdown 2 weeks after we got married.
Wow.
And so we were really, really lucky in the timing of everything. It was just
Yeah.
one of those weird things that was just,
Serendipity all just fell
yeah,
into place, and
yeah,
ta-da, you're a
yeah,
missus.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Oh, fabulous. And so I guess changing your mind was a really probably quite, it sounds like it was slightly easier maybe at the beginning because you were just like, right, this
Hmm.
isn't changing, with the pubs, you
Hmm.
could see the longevity of what was
Hmm.
going on. But it sounds like the second decision to postpone or to move that September date was slightly more in flux and playing a bit more on your mind as to what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, what would your advice to couples be at this point who, I think we're probably more like your decision making process in the summer where we don't know, this could be going on
Yeah.
for another week, it could be going on for another year, we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to know what to do, and that state of flux, like you said, really drains you emotionally. So
It really does.
what would your advice be, from having done it?
I think really having some constructive conversations as a couple, and also looking at what's really important to the two of you. I think as I said, at the beginning, I really wanted to have a big Irish wedding meets beautiful fairy tale traditional Oxford. And I think that was from a mix of reasons, obviously influenced by the beautiful city that I live in, influenced by my culture in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, we looked at ourselves like a couple, and because we have so much going on, we have to be good at decision making. And
That's true.
so personally to us, that was the only way that we could go, and probably to keep our sanity in all of it.
Yeah.
And I think it obviously all differs between each couple.
Yeah.
If you are a really, really tight-knit family, maybe waiting it out, or if you can afford the time to wait it out, if you are dead set on getting your dream wedding, like I would still say make the decision now to even postpone to next year if that's what you want, or even the year after. But also, not that everyone doesn't want to get married straight away, but if that is something that is super important to you in this moment, then just try and find a way to obviously have a kind of micro wedding and then a huge party. Like when things calm down and when things start opening up again, everyone is going to be dying to have a party.
Imagine what your pubs are going to be like.
Oh, gosh, I can't wait. Safely, of course, but it's you're not going to, no one's going to judge you for how you handle this situation right now, and I don't think anyone's going to judge you if you do things differently or think outside the box like we did. if you want
I
to
think
do a micro
traditions
wedding,
can be thrown out right now.
yeah,
Like, stop
absolutely.
stressing about what you should do. Think about what you
Yeah,
want to do, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's probably what's needed for weddings anyway, because I think brides are under so much
Yeah.
pressure to have the perfect wedding, to organize it all yourself, having never organized an event before.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's fantastic planners like you. I had a planner for my Oxford wedding, Emma
Yeah.
Joy, who was wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think, really stripping weddings back and the celebration back and the ceremonies back into what you want as a couple, what's
Yeah.
important for you as a couple, and not being led astray by other influences and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Lindsay has asked, and I have it written down, are you going to be doing an after party? Are you going to have the sequel, or are you just going to leave it as you've done that and later on there'll be, you know, other things, but no plans for a bigger party?
To be honest, for us at the minute, as a couple, what's really important for us is now kind of getting out of this bit of a marriage bubble, I think,
Yeah.
or the wedding bubble. I think it's been so emotionally exhausting
Yeah.
that it's just, we kind of want to move on to the next stage of us
Yeah.
as a couple. I mean, we've just purchased our first house,
Oh,
which our first home as a
congratulations.
couple. Thank you, which is really important for us, and it's a proper do-upper. So
Okay.
we want to invest our energy into those kind of next steps for us as a
Yeah.
couple, rather than kind of scratching an itch that I think,
Yeah.
look, in hindsight, isn't really what we wanted in the first place anyway.
Sure.
So
Yeah. I
so
think quite a few
that's
of
what's
my
really important
couples
to
are
us.
thinking that way, and I'm like, well, just have a massive housewarming party when the time comes,
Exactly,
and
that's
just
the thing.
rephrase it,
And
spend that money, do the same thing, but in a
yeah,
different, with a different tag.
and use your suppliers. So
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
we've had to work with our suppliers, and who we'd already worked with for the Oxford wedding, and
Yeah.
they've been fantastic. Some of these smaller businesses have been fantastic in letting us reuse the funds for something else. So
Brilliant.
my photographer, for instance, that I had booked, I've got a fantastic session with her now to do some branding photos for my
Fabulous.
businesses. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, and I think, obviously, and you know yourself, the suppliers that have been hit by this pandemic the worst have been wedding suppliers, and but it's working collaboratively,
Yeah.
because it's nobody's fault what has
No,
happened.
exactly. There's no blame. It's just,
Yeah,
how do we adapt? How do we make
yeah,
this work? And, you know, keep everyone kind of going, you know, and not,
yeah,
you know, not celebrating that you've got your money back and they're suffering.
yeah,
You know, it's all
yeah,
about, right, okay, so how do we make this work so that nobody's suffering?
yeah,
You know, and clearly, you know, it's all about compromise, isn't it? And
yeah,
being creative with finding a solution.
absolutely, couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. Yeah,
Yeah, tough times. So it's really difficult. And I think it's really difficult for the couples as well, because you feel, you know, you get so close to your suppliers and you then feel such a burden to them that you have
absolutely,
to make sure that they're happy. That suddenly, you know, let's say, you know, a normal wedding, you're probably looking at, you know, around 10 suppliers you've probably built brilliant relationships with. And then you're going, actually, you know, and that's a really difficult conversation to have. And even as the
yeah,
planner, when I'm having to go to my couple suppliers, say, look, I'm really sorry, but their plans have changed and we're going to have to cancel, you know, that is just the worst conversation.
yeah,
But it's the reality, you know,
yeah,
and there are cancellations going on, but with those cancellations, it's looking at a really positive way of keeping that
yeah,
relationship going,
absolutely.
because
Because you never know, obviously, you know, obviously a lot of these vendors at the minute are wedding suppliers, but
yeah,
their skills, their talents
exactly.
are transferable and everything. You know, you have catering companies, you know,
Yeah,
you have florists, all of these companies that
yeah,
can be reused in future. And so you want to keep those relationships as sweet as possible, both ways,
yeah,
because you want to
absolutely,
have that relationship and that trust between you. So
exactly.
yeah, I'm very much up for a collaborative approach, because a lot of what I do obviously is about supporting
Yeah,
independent businesses, and I think I feel quite strongly that, you know, yes, absolutely support them, but like you said, collaboration and common ground and things like
yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Yeah, Gloucester Magician, communication is key at the moment with couples. It is,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think all those couples that are slightly hesitant as to whether they should say something because they don't really know what they're doing yet, just say it. Like, get it out
yeah,
there. Say, look, I'm really thinking about doing this. don't know what I'm going to do yet, but these are what my thoughts are. We'd rather
Yeah.
hear it rather than kind of then suddenly just go, right, we made a decision, this was what's happening. You're like, whoa, blindsided, we didn't know that was coming, you know. So don't be afraid, have the confidence to have the conversations, definitely. So let's go back to your wedding day. So you had a fabulous, wonderful day. Tell me about who you had on the wedding day. So did you do any Zoom? Did you have any Zoom guests or anything like that?
Yeah, we did. So we had some of our closest Zoom in. My sister lives in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
So it was really, really hard she was going to be my maid of honor. Really hard her not being with us. So we set up a Zoom. She was there at 3 o'clock in the morning with our husband and some champagne to watch us get married. And a lot of my close friends, again, who were going to be bridesmaids, who couldn't be with us either. They were all on Zoom as well.
Oh, fabulous. I love that. And you had a photographer, presumably you had a florist. Did you have someone do your hair and makeup, or was that not allowed then? I'm not sure time frame.
No, we could have hair and makeup. So I had a local beauty salon who were fantastic as well. If anyone goes to Derry and needs any beauty treatment, I'll make sure to tag all of them in the comments. But yeah, we had a florist, and again, it was working with local businesses who, at that time, all of their big weddings were stored. And so, you know, that's why I think it was so easy to plan a wedding in 3 weeks, because, you know, I say, can you make me a bouquet in 3 Wednesdays time?
Yeah. They're like, yes, please, we want to.
Yeah. And I think because we were so lucky, because we had obviously great suppliers, and because of the times, I think there was an even more extra effort being made because of the context that the wedding was built upon. So the hotel was fantastic. They couldn't have done enough for us.
Oh, that's so brilliant. And did you get to have a honeymoon?
No, we didn't get to have a honeymoon.
So that's
but
still
again,
on the to-do list.
That just means big holiday
exactly.
in maybe a year.
Yeah, except once the house is done and all the other expenses that are piling up next to you. Where were you going to go on honeymoon? What was the plan?
I don't know. It was actually in Johnny's corner for that one. Luckily, actually, it's quite funny. I was in charge of obviously planning the wedding, and Johnny was in charge of planning the honeymoon, and which meant all of the wedding was organised and none of the honeymoon was organised. So we didn't lose any money on the honeymoon. Yeah.
And then when it becomes a really big holiday, that'll be your organisation.
No, he can do that one.
Oh, brilliant. And what would you say? Okay, so let's go back to you know, having a smaller wedding. I think lots of people sit on the fence, they don't know whether to do it or not, you know, whether it will work for them. And you know, hopefully we'll have slightly larger numbers than 15 when we, you know, when we hear the roadmap from Boris. And you know, in my head, I'm like thinking 30 to 50 might be a possibility, but who knows. With that in mind, what would you say was the kind of best bit about it? I mean, you said now you kind of changed your mind about bigger weddings and things. What was it? What was the essence of that day that really made you go, this is magical, this is what a wedding should be about?
You know, obviously with COVID and everything happening the way it was anyway, it was hard for families to get together. But it was basically, it was having a table of 12 people and all being a part of the conversation, all being part of the fun. You know, you imagine a wedding where you've got like 10 tables, and you know, half of your time as the bride and groom is going around to each couple, to each table, to each person on that table, thanking them for coming, you know, having a bit of small talk, things like that. And it just took out, I think, all of the performance of a larger wedding. And it was, you know, we were just all round one table, celebrating in what was a great achievement in being able to plan it and do it together. And this, like you said, after such a long engagement, it was a kind of
sigh of relief,
like a collective sigh all around the table, because obviously our parents were just as invested in this as we were. So it was I think that was what made it really special. And it's not to say, you know, obviously with big weddings that, you know, that's a pain or it takes a lot of energy, but it's just different. And I think I love a party. I absolutely love a party. But if we were to do something in future again, I think a lot of that kind of traditional wedding practices and expectations would just be gone anyway, and it would just be a massive party.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a very romantic ceremony, which is very much focused on the marriage rather than the legalities of it, but much more about love and celebration of you know, each other, and being together for the first time as a unit officially, and then go on to this really big party that will just be an explosion of joy and happiness and everything that we all want to see and experience at the moment. Brilliant. And so what are the kind of plans for the future? You know, you've bought the house, you've decided that, you know, the money needs to go elsewhere, and potentially it's going to be a big holiday. You know, you've got lots of what is it? Pans in the oven, fires in the oven. What is it?
Yeah.
That phrase. You've got lots of things going on. You know, what's the future for you and Johnnie? What's going on at the moment? Are you both continuing with the businesses? What happens with the pubs being closed? You know, what's happening for you at the moment?
So I think for this year, obviously, we're kind of just knuckling down in terms of, like you said, focusing on the house and, you know, really putting our time into creating our first home together, which is just as special to us. But also the businesses, and focusing, so growing my businesses that I've set up, maturing some of our other ideas that we've got going on, and then obviously also focusing on the pubs and making sure that they come back in fine form for when things start to open up again.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot, you've got a lot on your plate, and you know, running a small business is tough. We've all, you know, we all do it, and it's really difficult to maintain that kind of oomph during these really difficult times. You know, thankfully I'm able to keep working from home, but for yourself, you know, from the pub, that has to just close the doors until you're allowed to open them again, which is really difficult. So to see such positivity and happiness coming out of you is just the best thing ever, and it's exactly what we want to see. There we go, lots of people looking forward to coming to have a bevy in the half moon.
I bet.
It's an institution of Oxford, like
it is
all known it all our lives.
It's not very COVID friendly. It's probably been one of the hardest hit in Oxford, with social distancing and, you know, having a meal with alcohol and things like that. I mean, you can't really imagine that for the moon, bless it. But we've got ideas and we've got plans to bring it back in full swing.
That's what we want to hear. Perfect. Well, look, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear all about your wedding drama that became just a serendipitous, perfect event. You're an absolute pleasure to me, and thank you so much, and good luck with everything. You've got so much going on, and I hope it all goes brilliantly.
Thanks so much. You have a great afternoon. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.